Yep, everybody, it's Johnny P, the Painted Coach. Welcome to my thoughts of the week. And I thought I'd share a story with you as I tried to do, putting some personal experiences of what I've been facing last week. So this only happened about 3 hours ago. So it's Sunday, and every Sunday I always go down and see my mum and go and walk the dog and just spend some quality time with my mum. And this week we decided that we would meet outside and we'd go somewhere different. So we organised a place and a time to meet. So I arrived this morning about 10 to 10 and I'm waiting for my mum outside, and I kept waiting, and then it got to about 5 to 10 and I was thinking, well, we definitely said 10 to 10 we're going to meet. So then my mind started generating some of these little worried thoughts, and then it got to 10 o'clock and I was thinking, well, this is not right. And again, my thinking mind started maybe creating some other worrying thoughts again and started to put some scenarios in my head. And then it got past 10 o'clock and then my thinking mind really kicked in. And this is what I wanted to talk about, because I was really noticing what my thinking mind was generated in stories. And what our minds like to do and are designed to do is give us this worst case scenario thoughts. So as it got later and later, the dialogue in my head started to think the worst case scenario. And this is called catastrophized thinking. But we start to bring in these real doom and gloom stories. So it started to present me this story of, oh, maybe she's fallen over. Maybe she's hurt herself. Maybe she's not coming because something's really bad has happened. So while I was standing there waiting for her, all these stories started to get presented in my mind. And again, this is my thinking mind giving me all the worst case scenarios to prepare me, really. But actually in the moment, these thoughts provoked a lot of worry and anxiety in me. And I started to really get anxious about, bloody hell, you know, what's happened to my mum, what's happening to this. But what I actually was doing as well is I noticed that these thoughts, and I noticed what the thinking mind was doing, and I know that it's a normal and natural thing to do for the mind to present us these worst case scenario stories, because what it's really trying to do is make sure that we're prepared for the worst case scenario. And lo and behold, about 7 minutes past 10, say, my mum turns up, and I was like, Mum, where have you been? You're about 15 minutes late. And she goes, oh, I'm really sorry. I thought we're meeting at 10:05. So in her world, she wasn't late. But in my world, I was thinking, okay, you're late. And then my thinking mind started to come into play, and it started to give me all these doom and gloom stories. But what I've done as a skill, and what we've been talking about on our videos, is about switching on the watcher. Is about getting distance from these thoughts and watching what these thoughts are doing. And that's what I did. That these stories were presented by my thinking mind through my thoughts, which became a dialogue in my head. But what I did is I stepped back from them and said, okay, I hear that might be a possibility, but also the possibility of she could be just running late. And you start to unhook from these thoughts, because these thoughts are always going to come. So one of the key principles really is we're always going to have these kind of thoughts, these catastrophized thoughts, these worst case scenarios. And if we get fused to them and we start to believe them, they can start to create certain emotions and tendencies and urges in our body, which then can create these things like worry and anxiety, because we just get caught up in this language that we use in our head, and then it create these emotions in our body. And a lot of time that emotions can then drive our actions. So when that first story came, I didn't go running off to my mum's house thinking, oh, she's falling down the stairs. I just took a breath, I anchored and went, okay, I hear what you're saying, thinking mind, but let's just wait on a bit. Let's find out what's really happening before I start going on an emotional journey and start overreacting on certain things, because you presented me this story of worst case scenario, the doom and gloom story, and it's a natural and normal thing. So really what the key things here is stand guard of your mind, use that watcher. So again, it's this eyes behind the eyes. So it's you watching your thoughts, understanding that these thoughts are always going to come, especially this catastrophized thinking, this worst case scenario. Stand back from it and unhook from them so they lose that influence over your actions and especially your emotions. And then take a breath and then see what happens and think logically. Now, I know that if it carried on and it got to say 15:15 or even 20:20, I then might have gone and done some investigation, but not on the grounds of what my thoughts were telling me of, oh no, go quickly because your mum's hurt herself or she's in danger or whatever else. I would have just taken action, but in my controlled action of, okay, I'm logically thinking about this. Actually, she might just be running late. Let me just go and check. So just a conversation really, just to talk it through, that we're all going to get these thoughts. It's the doom and gloom thoughts. It's our thinking mind presenting those worst case scenarios, which can protect us. It's preparing us. It's getting us ready for action, whatever it is, by presenting these stories. But actually, a lot of the time, these stories aren't helpful, especially in the long term, because they can create different emotions, and then with those emotions can create different behaviors. And then obviously we carry on with certain behaviors, they can start to bring on long-term results and consequences. And some of these might be unintended consequences which have crept in over time because we're thinking of these horrible thoughts all the time, and then we're getting fused and hooked to them, and then we're thinking that they're actually real when really they're just stories in our head. So there you go. Not giving that thinking mind power over us, because we can engage the watcher. We can carry on watching our thoughts, making sure that our thinking mind, what it's presenting us in that moment, is it going to be helpful in the long term, and is it really linked to that person that you want to be? I think that's the most important thing, and that's again derived from the values that you want to live by. So at that moment, I wanted to live by those values of being stable and secure and calm and not panic over things because my mind's generating all these doom and gloom, worst case scenario stories. I just took a breath and said, hold on a minute, is this true? And it wasn't true because it was just thoughts in my head. Is it going to be helpful for me to react on this thought now? Well, not at the moment, because again, a lot of emotions could have been caused from that, could have caused me anxiety or worry or stress or not thinking correctly and done something which is probably not that logical. So I said, okay, well, that's not the person I want to be. So I'll take a breath. I'll unhook from these stories. I'll see them for what they are. And then I'll come back into the present moment. And then I'll make a decision based on the things that are happening in the present moment. Anyway, that's my video for this week. I hope it helps in some way. Keep watching your thoughts. Keep understanding it's natural and normal for our mind, our thinking mind, to present us these worst case scenarios, these catastrophized thinking. It's there trying to protect us. But like I said, sometimes the thoughts that our thinking mind generates doesn't help us in the long term for sure, and certainly can start driving certain behaviors that don't empower us. So step by step we get ahead, please. Little steps. I think we're in week 3 of January. So if you set some new aims and goals, you might have had some wobbles on the way. Push yourself down. Take that little step the next day. Just keep going at it. Go again mentality. It's really, really important. Just follow the process and just keep going at it. Step by step we get ahead. So have an amazing week, and I'll speak to you all next week. Take care for now. Bye.